What is the weirdest thing you saw someone doing because they thought they were alone? Not super weird, more endearing. We'd been drinking by the fire at a friend's house, and it had gotten late. His house has a gravel path that runs from the garden to the front of the house, running along the side of the house. We decided to leave this way to avoid unnecessarily waking up anyone else in the house. Anyway, we said our goodbyes, but for some reason thought it would be funny to hang back and watch him stumble about the kitchen through the window on the side path. For the next 20 minutes he was tidying up, but kept turning to his dog, chatting away with it, making faces at it, and telling him how much of a good boy he was. Never seen him in such a pure light before. One of my female coworkers came into the break room. She didn't see that I was sitting back by the snack machine on my phone. After sitting down at one of the far tables, she reaches up the sleeve of her t-shirt and rubs her hand into her armpit. She then brought her hand to her nose and smelled her fingers. Then I thought I was going to be sick as she licked her fingers. She did this several times thinking no one was watching. Then another coworker walked in and called back to me, and she spun around to see I was there the entire time. I once walked in on this kid trying to suck his own dick. I just walked out of the nearly empty year 6 classroom as fast as possible. It's not that weird, but a while ago I walked into class a bit early and no one was in the room except for this one guy sitting in kind of in the middle of the class. I knew the guy, but we weren't great friends. Well, when I walked in he was licking his knee. I have no idea why, but he was just licking his knee, and then he looked up at me and immediately stopped, and I just walked out. I don't even know. Walked in on a kid holding his waistband out and blowing a hand dryer directly on his dick in my high school bathroom. I vividly remember the snap of his basketball short waistband as we made eye contact. I used to work with a guy in a warehouse. One day I came back from the shop floor and he was having a full-on argument with the fucking broom. My dad jacking off. We never spoke about it to this day. Finally I can share this story. I used to work at a police department at a community college, and one night I had to work the night shift, which meant closing down the entire campus and securing it while patrolling. Well, when I got back to the station, the captain had already left along with the chief, so it was just me, dispatch, and my sergeant, which he was in his office. As I'm walking towards the dispatch room to return the keys that unlocks every single door on campus, I hear the dispatcher talking to himself in a kiddish way, high-pitched voice with some giggling. Now keep in mind, it's 2 in the morning and this guy's like 65 years old, so I'm a bit freaked out. As I get closer I intentionally make my footsteps noticeable, so I can give him time to quit what he's doing and behave well, normal again. Unfortunately, he didn't hear my footsteps, so I walked in on him still making the voices and giggling, and he literally jumped from his seat and turned pale. I didn't say a word and acted as if I didn't hear a thing and placed the keys where they belong and skedaddled the fuck out of there. The title gives away the punchline, but once I had a scary ride on an airport shuttle bus. You know, the ones that go from the terminal to the rental car facilities. I was returning from the rental car place to go back to the terminal, and I was the only one on the bus. The driver was taking the turns a little too rough, and he was barely coming to a stop at the traffic signs. He started singing loudly to himself. I thought he was crazy. As we pulled up to the terminal, I went to get off the bus. I set my suitcase on the sidewalk outside the bus and went to grab my second bag. The driver came out to help with the luggage, and I caught him trying to put my bag back on the bus. My first thought was, this guy's trying to kidnap me. A second later it clicked, he thought his bus had been empty, hence the singing and less careful driving, and thought I was just getting on the bus at the terminal for the first time. When I said I had been on the whole time, he was shocked. I was in class at elementary school, maybe 11 or 12 years old, and the teacher was doing a presentation. The room had the lights out and there was this kid in the back right corner, almost next to me, but as the teacher was explaining something, we were all paying attention to her. So I turned around and looked at this kid, and he was flashing his D***CK really fast, like pants up, pants down, up, down. Almost like a flashing contest. Lol, how many times can you flash your dick in a minute? Type of shit. When he saw me he stopped and left the room. He later became my friend. Never asked him about it though. Walked upon a complete stranger letting one horrendous fart out. He wasn't even a tad bit embarrassed. A girl I was in rehab with said she came home to her wealthy condo on the Upper West Side while going through horrible heroin withdrawals. She was going to shit her pants, so she ran into the mailroom where all the mailboxes are for the tenants. She bent over doggy style holding her knees and began to spray shit all over the wall. While she was in the middle of spraying out hot brown lava, the doorman walked in and caught her in the act. After she finished, while he was watching in, or she just pulled her pants up and went upstairs. The doorman never said anything to her or anybody she knew of, and no one ever asked her about it. She said it was the most embarrassing thing that she has ever been caught doing. Around 8th grade during lunch break, I walked in on the quiet kid from my class standing in front of a bathroom sink utilizing a piece of ham. Ham was served that day as some kind of masturbatory aid. I absolutely froze in bewilderment and horror as I was trying to process what this weird skin flap he had wrapped around his dun was, until it was subsequently dropped. I was myself a bit awkward back then and just said something along the lines of okay, sorry, and hastily closed the door. Never told anyone. Okay, I'm late, but few days ago I'm walking out of my apartment and hear some noise on the window next door. I turn around and there's a pigeon just sitting on the windowsill. As soon as we lock eyes, the pigeon poops a lot all over the windowsill. He has this look of utter terror in his eyes. I'm uncomfortable. The pigeon is uncomfortable. The windowsill is dirty. The moment was very intimate, and I don't know how the poor bird felt when I caught it mid-poop. I'm sorry, birdie. I hope you don't have to go to therapy because of me. I once walked into an office and saw a man hunched over in the corner intently smelling a glass of water. I tried to politely ignore him, but he loudly announced it's not what it looks like. I'm smelling the water. Walked into a bathroom in college and this guy was using the urinal with his back to me, and as soon as I opened the door to said bathroom I heard him saying to himself, my dick is so fucking tiny. I instantly left and have no clue if he even knew I was there. I caught my very hot female flatmate masturbating by grinding on the sofa armrest with her back to me. I walked out quietly. She never knew. When I was like 10, we used to go to the library to play games on the PC. There were like 20 and one guy was sitting at the last one against the window. There were like 2 seats between us. His ears were moving all the time and he was sitting a bit weird. Then I noticed the reflection of the screen in the window. This guy was looking at middle-aged women in diapers. It was so weird I started laughing and he looked at me all weird, closed the PC, jumped up and speed walked out the library. It was so weird. Farting into their hand and then smelling it. I used to work for a tech company in Silicon Valley and would occasionally work late, 9 p.m.ish. Nobody would be around but the occasional security guard doing rounds. I worked in the same building as another employee who also tended to work late, but on opposite ends of said building. When I would leave and walk to my car, I would always see this employee through the large pane windows, sitting at his workspace with his shirt off. He kept his pants and shoes on, but was always topless late at night. He had a very hairy back, so I guess it counts as a sweater. TL. Doctor, co-worker would work topless at night when he thought nobody was around. I was walking my dog with headphones in and thought no one was around since it was 6 a.m. She poops once, I pick it up, starts pooping again like 10 minutes later, and she's looking at me like sorry for pooping again. And my genius comment back to my dog is it's okay Nix. The second poop is the most important poop. Cue in a guy jogging by busting out laughing so hard he had to stop running. I noticed that one of my students had signed out an organ practice room in the university music department, but he wasn't in the locked room, even though the organ blower was turned on. When I unlocked the door to turn off the instrument and lights, I heard sounds coming from behind the console and discreetly glanced over its lid to see 2 organ majors going at it, oblivious that I had entered the locked room. Rather than embarrass them, as I described here some time ago, I quietly left and let them finish in the privacy of their locked space. Only later did I mention that practice rooms should be used solely for that function and no other purpose. He got the message without having to spell it out.